Hey guys, so today I want to talk to you about seed starting indoors. Seed starting indoors is the way that many people, who, especially those of us who live in a shorter growing season or a more northern climate, it's the only way that we can grow tomatoes and peppers at home because our growing season is so short. But seed starting can be used for a lot of different crops, and it's an amazing thing to do in the winter months or early spring when your gardener's soul and heart is just itching to get outside and to sink your fingers into the soil, but it's still freezing out. You might be getting some sun and thawing during the day, but it's really too cold to be planting very much, and especially your warm weather crops. So with seed starting, I often see a lot of confusion, or people are wondering, when do I need to start my seeds indoors? And they try to go off of their growing zone. So your growing zone is really good information to have for if you're putting in perennial plants, especially things like fruit trees and berry bushes, because your gardening zone will let you know the average low temperatures that you get in the wintertime where you're at. And if that means that those fruit trees and those perennials can survive those low temperatures. So it's a really good thing to know when you're planting your fruit, but really your gardening zone doesn't have a whole lot to do with your seed starting dates. Your seed starting dates all have to revolve around that first and last average frost date. So for seed starting indoors, especially in early spring, it has to do with your last average frost date in the spring. So you can look that up online. Your county extension office will have it. You can Google it, but really keep track of it. So every year, mark what was the last frost date, and it's going to vary usually by a week or two, just depending on the weather you're having for the year in the area. But it'll give you a really good guide to know when it's true for where you live exactly. Because even within counties and within zip codes, for example, where I live, the last average frost date for me, if I just go 15 miles down the road, we'll have frost where they're not having frost anymore for a week or so. And if I go even a little bit further, like some of the towns just 30 minutes away from me, they can plant a full 2 weeks sooner than I can because I'm up in the mountains. So it's just really good to keep records so you have them on your own of when things happen right on your homestead or in your garden, in your yard. Now, when we're doing our seed starting, not all crops are suitable for seed starting indoors, nor do they need to be seed started indoors. So for beans and peas, and really even my summer and winter squash, I rarely start those indoors. I have done tests, you guys, where I have seed started some and direct sown some. So I started them indoors about 2 to 4 weeks before that last average frost date, and then direct sown when the soil was warm and transplanted the starts. And on those ones, I got the same amount of harvest, and my harvest date was only a couple days difference, which a couple of days with the work that goes into seed starting and the space and all that is not worth it for me. So I'm going to show you what I seed start, but you don't have to seed start everything. And like I said, especially beans and peas who really don't like their roots to be disturbed at all, you're better off just direct sowing them and not even trying to seed start them. So your biggest thing with seed starting is knowing how many weeks before that last average frost date you need to be starting your seeds indoors. And this varies based upon the crop. So with your seed starting and even putting transplants out and doing spring growing and succession planting and then fall crops, you really need to know, is something classified as a warm weather crop or is it a cool weather crop? The difference is warm weather crops will not handle or survive cold temperatures. Now your cool weather crops, on the other hand, a lot of them are frost hardy, meaning they'll survive some frost. A lot of them have cooler soil temperature requirements, so the soil doesn't have to be as warm for them to germinate and start growing, and then for them also to grow and produce. Most of your cool weather crops, you can start them from about 6 to 8 weeks before your last average frost date, but you actually get to plant them out in the garden about 4 weeks before the last average frost date. So you're going to be getting those into the soil a lot faster, and then you get to start growing them sooner. Now with your warm weather crops, so right here I have got tomatoes and peppers that are seed starting. Those need to be seed started about 6 to 10 weeks before your last average frost date. So they take a longer time to grow, and we don't plant them out until usually at least 2 weeks after your last average frost date. So knowing that those warm weather crops, there's different start dates though. So each crop, so it's like it's kind of a pet peeve of mine when I see seed starting advice and it says, oh, on average, just start all of your seeds indoors 6 weeks before your last average frost date. No. That's not really the best advice, because if you seed start things too early, you can't plant them out because of that frost date, it'll kill them. And if you start them too early, then you run the risk of them becoming root bound, or you have to keep repotting them into bigger and bigger pots and using more soil, and it just becomes a lot of work. And then if the plants are root bound, they're not going to be as healthy, and they're not going to survive that transplanting process as much. So it's really, ideally you need to know which crops you're planting, and they each have a different week before your last average frost date on when you're starting them. So don't worry. In order for me to go through all of them, you would just be writing down like a mad woman or a madman. So I have got a chart, a link below here, and you can go and snag that chart that's going to give you your seed starting indoor dates. And if you have a copy of my book, The Family Garden Plan, on page 97, and it's a couple of pages because it goes in alphabetical order, I already walk you through when to start indoors that particular crop, how many weeks before, when to plant it outdoors, as well as direct sowing dates, and if it doesn't do well, being seed started indoors. So you've got all of that info there, but I'll also give you that, like I said, that link below the video, and have a chart that you can grab and download that's going to share that information with you. Now, the other part of seed starting is you want to make sure that you're using the right type of soil. You want to use a potting soil mix, because when we're seed starting, kind of the same thing in container planting, but especially with seed starting, is you don't have the gravitational pull for it to pull the water through the soil. So if you just go and use regular garden soil, one, it oftentimes will become oversaturated and it holds too much water, which causes things to rot, and we don't want that. But also, if you just go and use your regular garden soil and you're trying to do seed starting, it's got a lot of bacteria in it and can carry disease, and fungus too. There could be fungal diseases, and a lot of times it will kill off your baby seedlings. So it's really ideal if you get a potting soil mix, because it's already been formulated so that it won't become oversaturated, and on the other hand, it doesn't dry out too fast. And it's sterilized, meaning it doesn't have disease in it, not that it's sterile and it doesn't have any of the nutrients that the plants need to grow. So with our seed starting, especially with the warm weather crops like your tomatoes and your peppers, they need at least 70 degrees Fahrenheit temperature of the soil in order to really germinate. Now, some of your hot peppers even need it to be a little bit warmer, but I will tell you that I have always seed started my tomato plants and my peppers indoors. You can see I'm by my wood stove because this is the warmest spot. And the great thing is, when you're seed starting in the house, because it's such a small amount of soil, the temperature of the soil is going to become acclimated and pretty close to whatever the indoor temperatures of your house is. Now, when we're trying to get temperatures of outside soil, your outside soil is not the same temperature as the air, but it's different when we're talking indoors. So our house goes anywhere from about 74 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit at the end of the day when the wood stove has been going all day and here in the living room close to it. And then overnight in the early morning, it's going to drop down between 60 to 65 degrees, usually Fahrenheit. I have always been able to successfully germinate my tomatoes and my peppers without using any type of plug-in heat mats or anything like that. I just put them right here by the fireplace. You have to keep them moist. So I keep a spray bottle here, and you keep them covered before they have sprouted. So here you can see this tray, and you can actually see the moisture. We want to keep it covered because we're trying to create that greenhouse effect that's warm and moist. And being next to the wood stove, this potentially could dry out really quick if I didn't have it covered. So this is a tray. I'll link below to this, but you can also see in some of my other videos where I share how I grow tomatoes and start those from seed and give you a real step-by-step on that process, where you can use other like clamshell containers. I've used egg cartons. There's a lot of them. You just need to be able to cover it up. So you can cover something up with saran wrap as well, or plastic wrap. But I'm going to show you here. These, I'll show you, I actually started them yesterday and I filmed that. So we'll do a little hop back in time and you can see that. But these were started yesterday afternoon actually, and I have not checked on the soil conditions since last night. So you just want to make sure that the soil is still damp to the touch. So yes, it is. Let me check that one. Yep, that one's still damp. So you can always see the darker the soil, good indication that that's still damp. This is a little bit lighter, so it's a little bit more dry. So I like to just take in this stage a spray bottle with water, and I will mist the top because the top is where my seeds are located, and it is going to dry out first, even though I've got it in this greenhouse container. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these seeds. If they start to dry out, then they're not going to germinate. So it's really important in this first phase that we keep them nice and moist. And when they're in this germination phase, meaning they haven't sprouted yet, they don't need to have a light source. They just need the soil and the moisture and the warmth. Okay, let's get that all the way covered back up. A little bit harder to do one-handed when I'm holding the camera. These are some of my onions that I started from seed. And you can see those are growing here underneath my grow light. And I did use old lettuce containers, just clamshells there to start them. And these guys have about one more week. I'm going to start hardening them off. So you can't just take them from this protected indoors and then plant them outdoors. They will die. You have to slowly acclimate them to the outdoor temperatures and winds and all of that. So these guys, I'm going to start hardening them off over the next 7 to 10 days. And then I'll transplant them out in the garden, because onions you can put out and plant about 4 weeks before your last average frost date. They'll handle temperatures about 28 degrees. Hello, Mr. Red Solo Cup. Here I have got some holy basil growing. So Tulsi or holy basil I've got started in these two Red Solo Cup. Those ones I've got to thin out. I've got a little bit more, but I was waiting to see how many sprouted and they were the strongest before I thin them from that cup. So you can see you can use lots of different growing containers, but you do need, after they've sprouted and germinated, you do need a grow light. Sometimes people will try to use a southern window, but in my experience, that creates weak and spindly plants, especially if they're ones like tomatoes or onions or peppers that we're going to be having indoors for weeks upon a time. They just don't get strong enough light from a southern facing window, and you really need a grow light. And you'll notice on my grow light there that I have it right at the top, just an inch away from the top of the plants. Your grow light, even though it's a full spectrum light bulb, which you have to have, needs to be full spectrum to have all of the light wavelengths there to work, it's still not as strong as the sun. And so we need to have it 1 to 2 inches above the plants, and you need to keep it on longer, usually about 12 to 16 hours a day for your tomato plants, which is longer than what your daylight would be this time of year. But if you have it on, so I turn mine on right when I get up in the morning. It's usually about 6:30, and then I turn it on when I go to bed about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So it's on all day long. So in light of all of the chaos that's going on, not just in the United States, but really the whole world, with things like quarantine and just a little bit of uncertainty of knowing where things are going to be going and not having a lot of food on some store shelves, we are growing more of our own food than ever this year. So actually increase the amount of tomatoes that I normally plant. But if you're wondering, how much food do I need for a year's worth of food, or how much do I need to plant per person? Well, my friends, I'm going to be sharing that in next week's video. So I'm going to be walking you through all of that so you can plan, even if it's seed starting or if it's just direct sowing, to make sure that you have enough food for your family. So I can't wait to see you in that video. You'll want to make sure that you hit subscribe so that you don't miss that, or you're on my email list. I'll be emailing you out links to that. But I'm going to be creating a lot of resources to help people grow as much of their own food this year as possible, no matter what. So hopefully everything just kind of calms down and subsides. But the beautiful thing about homegrown food is it's going to serve us and our families no matter what happens. So I'm so excited to help you grow more of your own food this year and for us to be able to extend that and share it with others.